All right, welcome to third grade unit 4. As you can guess by these instruments laying around, we're talking weather today. And so third grade unit 4 has a couple big key concepts that we're going to be working on throughout the course of the unit. The first one is getting a good grasp of weather data. And so students are collecting local weather data at the beginning of the unit. So we begin this unit by talking about this awesome read called Come On Rain. We talk about then we do a clues chart, talking about what do we know about weather? What do we know about how we know it's going to rain? How do we know what the temperature is going to be? We talk about begin this idea of weather forecasting and collecting weather data. Students then engage in this idea of different weather instruments, and so we provide students with just an unknown. We don't tell them what they are. We just give students a bunch of different weather instruments and have them explore and predict what they think these would measure. And then in turn, we read the book, What Will the Weather Be? And talk about what each of these different weather instruments are and how they're used. The next day, you set up an outdoor weather station. So you can use these different materials like the barometer, the rain gauge, the thermometer, the anemometer, and you wouldn't have to put all these outside. You may just want to put the rain gauge and the thermometer. It's a hygrometer too, so humidity's at the bottom of this. So you may want to just put these two outside, and so these two go outside, and these two maybe stay inside. But again, you're exploring this idea of how we collect weather data and how those weather data is used to make a forecast or prediction. And so students collect weather data for a week, and they really track the weather. They explore this idea. They then look at forecasting, and they look at meteorologists, and so they watch a local meteorologist forecast, talk a little bit about what the meteorologists do, and that prepares them to start planning out a skit where they're going to become a weather reporter, and as a team they're going to report on the weather. We do some work on watching clouds. We go out and look at different types of clouds. Obviously you have to plan around that day, making sure it's a cloudy day or there's clouds in the sky. They look at what can we learn from those clouds, making those observations, what those clouds tell us. There's a bunch of analyzing different data that students can analyze on temperature data, trend data, rainfall data, really analyzing what our local weather patterns are before they present their weather skits. So that's the first part of the unit. There's about 2 weeks or so. And again, you can really go as deep as you want to into the different concepts. But really the idea is meteorologists use tools, and those tools help us to predict the weather, and that students are beginning to engage in that. And I've always found that students get really interested in weather because it's a phenomenon that we experience every day, right? Every day we experience weather. And so there's so many opportunities to do that. Now I would recommend next year, as you begin the third grade, really talking about the weather throughout the year and then culminating with this weather unit. That will help build anticipation throughout the year. So the next week or so, students study climate. Obviously climate's different than weather. A good analogy is weather are the clothes that you put on today, you're going to dress for the weather. Your climate is the type of clothes you actually buy, and so the type of wardrobe you own is dependent upon where you live. And so we have a lot of students from the Marshall Islands, right? The climate in the Marshall Islands is going to be very different. The clothes you are required to have there are going to be different than the clothes here in Northwest Arkansas, or if you were to go up north into Canada, right? You have a different wardrobe based on the climate. And so students analyze different climate zones. They research different climate zones. There's some great data that students are going to analyze as they create an idea of what are the different climate zones, and they research one of the four. Then they begin to look at, finally, they begin to look at severe weather. They do some severe weather stations where they learn about different types of severe weather. They begin to look at what severe weather affects us the most in Northwest Arkansas. They read a book called Tornadoes and that's becomes our launching point. We begin to more in-depth study tornadoes. And then finally they plan a house that can withstand a tornado. And so for this investigation we use a hairdryer and then a bunch of different materials. I just brought these pipe cleaners with me today. But straws, pipe cleaners, index cards, a bunch of clay. Students are creating a tornado-proof house that has to withstand the effects of the tornado. And so you may want to say it's 15 seconds on high, and you can practice what that looks like with your students. So they didn't design their tornado-proof house. They talk about structures that they used to go through that and explore that house and how they were able to make it tornado resistant. The other alternative to that There's a picture-perfect STEM lesson called Hurricanes. And so you read this book, The Two Bobbies, and then Building Dikes and Levees. And so in this investigation, students are building a dike in a plastic container, and they're trying to protect the water. And so that's another alternative to the tornado-proof house that students can look at. And then finally, all of our 3 through 5 units always end with an ACT Aspire Inspired assessment. And so this one's about weather data and graphing, and it connects right back into the unit. So make sure to just remember that last piece is there to help support your practice getting ready for the ACT Aspire. All right, I hope you guys enjoy weather. What a great phenomenon to explore. And I know your kids will enjoy being their own meteorologist.